that's another podcast too. Is Mitch still alive? Is Mitch dead?
It is.
But
where's Waldo for the Senate?
Exactly. But, when you think about that, when you put people that old in government positions, you're creating a high risk situation. My parents are in their early 80s, and I've noticed a decline in their, in their intellectual capacity and being able to think quickly on their feet, make quick decisions, being able to weigh things out, getting confused sometimes. So, and we've got this cautionary tale happening in Washington, D.C. right now, right? We're watching the president of the United States. His mental decline and his intellectual decline has just been so evident just by the contraction of his vocabulary. And we could go in, that's a whole podcast in itself. But we also see what's going on with Mitch McConnell and whether or not, that's another podcast too. Is Mitch still alive? Is Mitch dead?
It is.
But where's Waldo for the Senate?
Exactly. But, when you think about that, when you put people that old in government positions, you're creating a high risk situation, right? Because you're putting people who don't have the capacity any longer to think like they did even when they were 60, 65, even 70, right? And we went into situations like Mitch McConnell, where he's been out of the game now. What are we going on? 59 days? I think we're about at 60 at this
two
point.
months, yeah.
And the whole thing about his staff covering up and like no real proof of life stuff aside, this is bad for the people of Kentucky because they have no representation right now from him in the Senate. So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah. I mean, this gerontocracy is just it's unacceptable. And you look at the average age of the founders versus the average age that we have now of our government. And you just see this slide over time. I mean, this was never intended to be somebody serving 3, 4, 5 terms in the Senate, right? So yeah, he just turned 83. He turned 83 in May. So we wished him a happy birthday. We put up some billboards around the state, recognizing him as the richest and oldest senator in Idaho history. That kind of writes itself. We had some fun with that.
Well played.
But and with McConnell out, we also recognizes that he's been promoted from the 4th oldest to now the 3rd oldest in the Senate. He's a couple months younger than McConnell and a couple months younger than Biden. And listen, the Dems' decision to run Biden a second time, when everybody knew a year into his first term that he was struggling to keep up, that was a horrible decision. That was bad for the country. More Dems, and I'm one of them, but more Dems need to stand up and say any party that thought that was a good idea doesn't deserve to have the level of authority and influence on U.S. government that those folks did. I mean, that was a horrible decision for the country. So, I mean, we need new blood. We have a lot of hard problems going on. What's the regulatory structure that we need to put around AI? I tell you what, Jim Risch doesn't understand that. He has no idea how that works, right? I mean, I teach public policy. I focus on competition, anti-monopoly, and tech policy. Like I know how to make sure we have AI grows and it's part of a makes us more productive and benefits rather than it just becomes this crap that undermines the economy and undermines jobs. So we got to force these people out. And again, a lot of people, and from our polling, and we've made this public, when Idahoans know, when they learn that Jim Risch just turned 83 and he wants to serve until he's 89, 82% of Idahoans are concerned or very concerned about that. 74% of Trump voters. It is the number one issue, and folks are tired of it.
Yes. And in defense of the founding fathers, the average lifespan back in the late 1700s was 49 for men. Yeah. So they were dying well before they were starting to deal with intellectual issues related to aging.